So tell us how you are part of that world. What do you do for the, for the agencies?
So what we do is basically what we are is we're a technology enabler. At the heart of it, at the foundations of it, we have a platform that matches best fit supply and demand. Really, it's all about optimizing each impression against each creative that we have. And the way that we optimize it is really, I guess, the key targeting criteria are all about what audience are we trying to reach. And the way that we do that is we apply data that we work with third parties to obtain. We apply that data and we can then target each impression as it comes in based on what we know that campaign is looking for. And that's the fundamental, I guess, basis of what our technology does. Around that, we also have very robust planning and forecasting tools that are very helpful when you're building up your campaigns, and we have really strong reporting and analytical tools on the back end, which are very important when to our clients, our advertisers, to understand campaign performance and plan for the future. We do a number of different types of studies. I think one that's quite interesting would be something that we call infographics. It's a quarterly study that we make and it just looks at the types of video advertising they're currently ongoing. We just completed the first quarter 2012 infographics for here in the UK, and it came out with some pretty interesting stats around who's doing what in terms of video advertising. In terms of advertising verticals, who advertised, I think, the most in Q1 was dominated by CPG, so consumer goods. That was about 50% of the overall spend that we saw, followed by entertainment. Retail were also pretty strong verticals, and financial services. Those were really the big guys. I think automotive and telco were also amongst the top, but it was more the kind of the retail CPG type of verticals that dominated. In terms of the types of ad advertising and how this advertising is being targeted, if you look at a very basic stat or a very basic, I guess, description of the type of advertising, it's creative length. What we're seeing is almost 70% of the creatives that we're seeing are 30-second ad spots. And a lot of that has to do with being able to repurpose TV creative. The second in line is about, I'd say about just under 10% is 20-second. And then, very little in terms of anything under 20 seconds, and also quite little anything over 30 second. If you look at targeting and the types of targeting that's being applied by the advertisers who are using VOD, that's pretty interesting as well. Almost 80% of the advertising that is bought has some form of demographic targeting in it, so be it age or gender. Another almost, I think, 12% is incorporating some sort of behavioral targeting mixed in with the demographic targeting as well. So,
is it an efficient medium at this point, online video advertising? Where might it go?
Yeah, I think it's really efficient. It's a great opportunity. TV, it's a new opportunity or a new platform for TV advertisers, and what it does do is it provides you direct kind of ability and accountability to target the audiences that you're looking for. It also provides you an interactive mechanic as well, which is something that you didn't historically have in TV. So from that perspective, I think you have a very efficient and targeted source of advertising versus what you had traditionally, let's say, in TV. And also it offers you interaction with the viewers, which is something that is pretty new and exciting.
So if there was a roadblock or two to online video advertising really blowing up, because it's pretty small right now in the scheme of things, what has to happen, or what might happen in your opinion?
Well, I think that a lot of things need to come together, and we're starting to see them come together. So it's always a question of supply and demand, really. So on the supply side, it's a matter of having enough content, quality content, come out for advertisers to feel comfortable to advertise against. So we definitely have seen over the last years, and particularly over the last even 6 months, a growth in content. In the UK alone, I was quite staggered at the beginning of the year. According to ComScore, we had something like 7 billion streams per month, and now we're already at 9.9 billion streams per month. So that growth is pretty significant. So on the demand side, we are seeing growth, which is great. On the supply side, we're seeing growth, which is great. On the demand side, that's all about creating awareness and education across the planning and buying teams, and how effective VOD can be, and how VOD can form part of their overall media strategy. And that's something that takes a little bit of time. However, we are seeing an increasing amount of advertisers starting to test VOD, come into VOD, and those that have come into VOD, we're starting to see a lot of repeat bookings and growing values in terms of the bookings. So that's all really good news too. And the last piece that's really important is technology and kind of the infrastructure around the whole ecosystem to allow it to happen. And for video advertising to happen, you need to have integrations between supply and demand. And that's basically talking about standards. Standards are something that have been developed very well in display, and everybody's got, they're working off of the same standards. Historically in VOD, that's been a little bit piecemeal. It's been a bit kind of fragmented in terms of standards that have been applied. But again, really over the last 6 to 12 months, we've seen a lot of the publishers adopt the IAB recommended VAST and BPAID standards, which allows us to be much more efficient and allows us to be better integrated with the supply side and offer some really nice creative opportunities to advertisers in terms of ad formats.